Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lynlee Foo.
Money FM 89.3. From customer service chatbots to predictive logistics, AI has become the buzzword in boardrooms everywhere. But while many companies are still testing the waters, China's businesses are already making waves, deploying AI at a speed and scale that's catching even seasoned observers off guard. With homegrown models like DeepSeek and Ernie powering everything from retail to finance, China isn't just catching up in the global AI race, it's redefining how fast you can turn innovation into execution. So what's behind China's momentum? And what can business leaders here in Singapore and across Asia learn from their playbook? Joining me on Industry Insight to break it all down is Professor Guoli Chen, a strategy expert at INSEAD, who studies how companies in Asia lead and transform under pressure. Prof. Chen, great to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Prof, let's kick over the big picture. When you look at leading Chinese companies, from tech giants to traditional players, how are they approaching AI? Is it still just an experimental add-on, or has it really become part of the core business strategy?
So many companies, Chinese companies, no matter this is the big techs or small, medium-sized companies, they are actively trying to integrate the AI across the different various stage of the business value chain. So at the current stage, it's more than about the concept, it's more than about the technology. More importantly, it's about the application of the AI across operations, across the customer-facing functions. So it's being applied widely across different value chain.
It's fascinating. So it's not just about having a flashy chatbot like Ernie, but really weaving AI into the nuts and bolts of the business?
Well, chatbot is one of the domain that AI has been widely applied. But in addition to that, for instance, in the customer side, there are recommendation engines. For instance, the company like Xiaohongshu, Rednote, apply AI to enhance search results and personalize the content feeds, right? So the system behind Rednote build user interest profile based on browsing, based on likes and comments, and boosting user engagements. And in addition to the customer-facing function, there's an internal one which is more related to the operational side. Companies use AI in predictive analytics, the workforce optimization, and sometimes they use the AI to boost the intelligent supply chain system. Let me give you an example, right? Like for instance, one of the largest logistics company, SF Express, in Chinese is a Shunfen, right? So SF Express use AI for parcel volume forecasting and intelligent route planning. By analyzing weather, geography, and historical trends, it improves delivery efficiency and optimize workforce deployment. Another company like Digital China, they use AI to increase the productivity of the R&D function, improve the HR function, for instance, in terms of selecting the right people for the position, right? So overall, I think nowadays the trend for most Chinese companies, when they apply AI, so what they try to do is try to moving toward embedding AI into this end-to-end workforce, from the internal operation to the external, like the customer face, right? Rather than just treat the AI as an add-on tool.
Indeed. I've also heard about JD.com in logistics, their smart warehouses and Ping An Insurance's AI-driven risk assessments.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be applied, like I said earlier, it could be applied in the various stage of the business value chain.
One thing that really stands out is the speed at which Chinese companies can go from pilot projects to full rollout. How are they able to move so fast?
I think there are several reasons which could explain why they move so fast. And One of the reasons is like literally they are forced to because of the competitive or highly competitive market. And in addition to that, I think in China, there's some like we call the bonus, like strong engineer talents, which is the talent bonus. And then the market bonus, which it has a large unified domestic market so that they can train, they can practice, they can apply, they can try to experiment all kinds of the applications or deployments of the AI across various domains of the business. In addition to that, of course, the other one is I think it's relatively relaxed regulatory conditions for the AI experimentations. And because of this combination of the market forces, and the human talents and the competition and the regulatory requirements, I think collectively force the whole environments which encourage or force all these Chinese companies to deploy the AI in a faster speed and more scalable.
Sounds like this robust ecosystem that's really giving them an edge, almost like everyone's rowing in the same direction. And it seems to help them avoid what we often call pilot paralysis, right, where projects never actually scale. Do you see the same level of agility in Southeast Asia yet, or is there still a gap?
In Southeast Asia, I would like to say, I mean, in terms of the quantity, in terms of the magnitude of the market space, it's, again, compared to China, it's, I would like to say, relatively small, okay? Only, and the market is less competitive compared to China, right? So we can see that some of the companies in South Asia, they also try to deploy the AI, for instance, Shopee under the SEAC group, right? So has partnered with OpenAI to leverage the AI agent they call the operator in order to offer more convenient and efficient shopping services for its customers. And early this year, Shopee also launched this like Shop AI assistant to support sellers on the platform. So I would like to say that the companies in Southeast Asia, they also try to apply AI and then but compared to the competitive environment in China, including both big tech companies and others, small SMEs, I think like they are doing well, but I think this is still a little bit lag behind compared to the Chinese companies.
A lot of catching up to do. A lot of catching up to do. Now, you've written a lot about leadership and governance, Prof. Chen, and how they shape company performance. But when it comes to AI, how are Chinese CEOs and boards approaching things differently from their Western or regional counterparts?
Well, I think that definitely there's certain commonalities and certain differences, right? So, like for instance, for certain commonalities between like Chinese companies and the Western companies, CEO is like, the CEO's mindset is often the most critical factors. Okay, so the leaders who can understand the tech and are willing to reimagine the process tend to lead to successful transformation. So that part, I think, is common, right? So like, for instance, in a case, a company name called Digital China that I developed together with the company, and we highlight that it is very important for the CEOs and the leaders and the board of directors to set the AI strategy or AI ambition for the organization. And that is the critical role that CEO and the board cannot outsource. But however, AI transformation is not only a top-down process, it also needs a bottom-up initiatives, right? When I say bottom-up initiatives, it's like fundamentally what really matters is whether you can get your people's buy-in, whether AI can increase the business's performance, right? So in that sense, it's like the AI is not only technology. AI is a technology, but more than that, it's like whether the company can use the AI to increase the business performance so that the whole organization that they see that the application for AI can derive the benefits of our organization. So like in China versus in the Western world, like in the US, I think the China is like probably more aggressively apply the AI and experiment the application of the AI in various businesses domain. And think about it like from the process wise, right? So when a company works on this like AI transformation, the CEOs, the leaders, they need to make the organization to be ready, right? So when I say the organization to be ready, it's like they need to have the high quality proprietary data, which is based on the company itself, right? So right now, if you think about the AI, the large language modeling, they are more or less getting mature, right? So probably in terms of the large language model, there's no huge difference between like ChatGPT or maybe DeepSeek, right? So in the application of the AI in the business, it's like how can they build the company specific data built upon this like large language modeling so that they can develop their own usage, own application in that specific business domain. And in that place, I think in terms of application, right, I'm not talking about the invention. It's not talking about from 1 to 0. I'm talking about from 1 to 100 or from 1 to 1,000, right, in terms of business application. And Chinese company have certain advantage in terms of deployments and try to experiment how to apply AI in their business, partially because that they on average, for instance, in the manufacturing industry, right? They have this like high quality proprietary data, right? So to make the organization to be ready to apply the AI, and also like I mentioned earlier, the China have this like bonus of the a large amount of the very talented engineer, right? So the people with the right skills and the right man size, that is very important for the organization to do this like the AI transformation. So I think for sure there's certain commonality between Chinese leader versus Western leaders, Chinese organization, Western organization. But for Chinese leaders and organization, they do have a certain unique advantage when you get into the AI application to apply AI and try to create and capture value from the AI deployments and specific use in certain business domain.
Okay. Prof, we've also been seeing the recent rise of open source Chinese AI models like DeepSeek and Qwen. How do these fit into the strategy, and what does it mean for businesses operating in cost-sensitive markets?
So like the LLM, like the DeepSeek, right? I think the unique feature of DeepSeek is this open source and low cost model. And this model, right, low cost model, function well, open source, reduce the entry barriers for small, medium-sized enterprise and for those like non-tech companies. They support the development of the localized AI solution, especially for those like non-English speaking contexts. And startups in verticals such as the biopharma and legal documents processing, right? They use the DeepSeek, the open source model, to rapidly build domain-specific AI application without the need for costly infrastructure or the training budgets, right? So broadly speaking, I think this open source low-cost model offer an alternative to like Western closed source models and enable countries in the global south to build independent innovation capacity. Just to give you an example, for instance, more recently that the Saudi government is making significant investments in AI and the digital economy with plans to allocate substantial funding toward AI infrastructure and the growth of the startups. And DeepSeek is a local deployment, low cost, function well, open source, and this model, the local deployments has become an important part of Saudi government's initiatives.
Okay, that's really a smart play, I think, at making AI not just powerful, but also practical and affordable. Are these models something that regional businesses here could realistically adopt today?
In general, I think yes, there's certain parts that's related to technology that they can use large language modeling. They can use the some of the applications which has been developed or has been tested in China market, right? But in addition to that, I think it's important to understand certain logic or the business strategy of the Chinese companies when they do this like AI deployments, that they often follow a build fast and iterate fast approach. Rather than just like over planning, right? Because like AI, it's a new technology and it should have the big impact on multiple domains of our business and societies. But because everything's evolving, it's very important to have these mindsets of the build fast and iterate fast, right? So for instance, ByteDance follow this like they call the launch fast and tune continuously model in the AI deployment. The products and algorithm teams that they iterate probably dozens of times daily and rapidly transforming user feedback into the product enhancement, right? So this type of the mindsets in terms of like how to apply the AI, how to link the technology with the business, with the process, right? So that part, I think companies in Southeast Asia that can learn from it, not only about just using the technology, but also the mindsets of how to deploy the AI technology.
Okay, Prof, are there particular sectors where China's AI integration has been especially transformative? Perhaps manufacturing or healthcare, because I think you've been talking about retail so far. Can you share some insights?
Well, actually, the AI has been applied in multiple industry, right? You mentioned about like healthcare, like manufacturers. For instance, one of the among Chinese MNC higher group, right? So they built the AI into the defect products detection. So they use the image recognition, for instance, that they can increase the defection rate or increase the investigation defection rate, it's increased by like 20-30%. And like in the healthcare industry, right, use the image recognitions, again, built upon this like big AI modeling that they can use the image recognition to help or facilitate the doctor to understand, to do the diagnosis of the disease, or increase the accuracy of their diagnosis.
Okay, this is something that I've always wondered, Prof. Do you think Chinese companies see themselves as global competitors, or are they focused on just dominating the domestic market first?
Well, I think these two are not mutually exclusive. I think most of the Chinese company that they will okay, not all, most of the Chinese company that they will start with the domestic market because number one, it's huge. Number two, it's highly competitive so that they can build the competitive advantage and in the domestic markets and then use that one as the initial step. And the next step is to go overseas, right? So either the business model or technology. So these two are not mutually exclusive. I think most of the Chinese company, when they get them big, and then I think they have the ambitions is like more than domestic company. But domestic China could be a training arena for this company to build the technology, sharpen their business model, and sharpen the competitive advantage before they go overseas.
What can you tell us about how Chinese firms might be collaborating with partners outside of China when it comes to AI?
In terms of the partnership, let me think about it. Right now, again, AI is big domain of the concepts and involves many things, right? And I think right now, most of the time, it's about the competition between these like two ecosystems, right? So one is the US system, the other is like China-centric ecosystem, right? And like because of the geopolitical issues that China, the US government have imposed certain constraints, for instance, exports like or sell the high performing chips to China, right? So there are many domains actually because the geopolitical reasons. So nowadays, most of time, in terms of the original like technology developments, actually it looks like they are separating one from the other. But in terms of the academic exchange, and then I think it's still there. In terms of the partnerships, the applications, you can see that I mentioned earlier that the Saudi governments that they have the intention to build infrastructures and localize their AI systems based on the DeepSeek this infrastructure, right? So I think from the US and China, there's more segregation nowadays. We see a little bit like two different ecosystem it's developing, but in terms of the other countries, we can still see the potential collaborations.
All right, Prof, finally, looking ahead, What do you think businesses should be preparing for over the next few years?
Business, I think first is clearly need to embrace the AI, but it's more than about embrace AI as a technology. We see that AI adoption is not about pure technology. It requires the align the business process, the people talents, and data readiness and organization that incentives, right? It requires the CEOs and the board commitments. So my suggestions for the companies is need to pay attention and aware of the AI development. The second is when you deploy the AI, need to consider this is a whole system. It's not only about the technology. Ideal case is that you need to embed the AI from end-to-end process rather than just one small tool to increase efficiency. Increase efficiency is important, but the AI should be more than that.
I'm going to squeeze in one last question. Any risks in China's model businesses shouldn't replicate?
The risks of the Chinese business model shouldn't be replicated. Okay. So I would like to say the success of China's on the Chinese economy, including the AI deployment, right? So there are some factors which could be unique for China. For instance, it has a large unified domestic market, right? It has a very strong engineering talents, engineering culture, right? So that part, which is unique to China's, could be harder to be replicated, but the mindsets, right, and try to increase the awareness of the AI, its potential impact, that part could be replicated. And then we can see in China, many companies that they try to develop their own AI products, all the big tech companies, including TikTok, including Tencent, including Digital China, right? So they try to develop their own AI products and allow its own employees and its clients to use AI. And that certain parts could be copied, certain parts cannot be copied. But I would like to say to try to emphasize the commonality, right? So for instance, outside China, other countries, you can probably build a competitive market environment. You can build a vibrant economy. You can change the people's mindsets, and that one that you can replicate. But of course, for each country depends on the local institutional conditions. I would like to say each country may need to adapt the model rather than just copy it as a wholesale.
Lots to think about there, Prof. And clearly, the AI race is as much about leadership and execution as it is about algorithms and models. Prof, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure speaking with Professor Guoli Chen from INSEAD about how Chinese companies are scaling AI and what Singapore firms can learn. I'm Lynlee, and this is Industry Insight on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.